Alright guys, today's video I'm going to show you how to install Livery on any of your cars. Before I get started, I'm going to give a huge shout out to BK Performance for letting me use their shop to install the livery and shoot this video. If you're looking for a livery for yourself, something that's not on someone else's car, it's personally designed to you, what you like, efficiently, and pretty cost effective for the design that you're going to get and the quality of the livery itself. Go ahead and look up Livery Delivery on Instagram. I'll have all the tags in the description of the video. And if you're looking to get it printed, there's tons of shops out there that will print your livery. However, most of them are very overpriced just because they know how much they can get from you for installing it. I recommend Z7 Graphics with IX on Instagram. I'll put that in the description as well. They have the cheapest quote you're going to get out there for getting something installed, and especially the quality of some of the liveries that you get. They can get very expensive. So I highly recommend them. As you can see mine, it's pretty in detailed, a lot of colors, a lot of pieces. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video and I'll show you how I install it. Alright, so the first thing I do after I get the livery printed and it shows up, unroll everything and kind of lay them out what goes on what side and kind of orient it how it goes to the car. You can see I have the hood already taped up on this side. It's installed on that side already, but I separate it by pieces, and then as you can see, this is the whole driver's side of the car. So split up in two sheets, front versus rear, and then I have all my logos over there that are separated for this side. So what I'll start with is taking the main sheet here that's going to start the car, and then this blue line allows me to line it up with the bottom of the car. But I'm not going to install it on one sheet. What I'm going to do next is break it down, what makes the most sense to me and ease of install. And I'll show you how I install it after I break mine up, but I'm going to basically separate it in pieces by these large chunks. So the blue, then the zebra, then these zebras, and then the lightning. So I'll label them, and then I'll break them up into pieces, and then I'll get ready to install them piece by piece. So that way it can conform to the car. It's easier to install, and I don't run into issues of placement or making it look exactly how I want, because the image that you're going to have made for you after you get it designed might not fit exactly scaled how it does on the car. So you might have to adjust the pieces slightly to make it fit how you want, or to get the logos where you want, or based off the curvature of your fenders and whatnot. Okay, so what I did is I took the whole main side of mine, all the big pieces, and all I did was cut them up. So this is the rear bumper, this piece, the next two blue pieces, and then this first blue piece all go down the side of the car that kind of set the shape and the conform to it. And then those other two pieces I have cut up is what goes in the front fender arch and kind of comes off the front fender itself. So I don't like to put those on till last because it's hard to set that angle. So I'll typically start with the front lower, which would go just under my front fender, kind of at the bottom of the skirt. Then I'll go middle of the skirt, and then I'll go towards the back of the skirt. And then everything from there, which you can see these are already separated, I'll go ahead and fill those in afterwards. That way I get the spacing right and the angle that I want it to go up the car before I start putting them all on at once, or just trying to go left to right from top to left to right all at once instead of going left to right from the bottom and then going up to the top. All right, so I'll demonstrate it again on the car how I install these, but this one is already preset, so I have it set where I want it. And what I'll do is I'll align it where I want, then I'll take one long piece of tape and I basically start it on one side and then press it all the way across so it conforms how it needs to, and stick it to the other. Once it's here, what I'll do is flip up one side of the sheet, peel the backing off of and work it down. And then once I get all of that down, I will then peel this tape off, pull the backing off this side, and then go backwards. The only thing to note is understanding where these shapes go. So you'll see kind of this one is going to go two separate ways. These kind of go right and then go down this curve. So based on the curve of the car, you may need to actually split these. So what I'll end up doing is I'll pick it up. I'm going to set the start of it here. And then once I get to this split, I'm probably going to cut this paper off and just leave this as a separate tag. That way I can isolate this one, run this one all the way down, and then run this one, and then so on and so forth. So I'll kind of show you how I do that on this piece, and I'll show you a few on the side of the car as well. We're going to start on this piece, and I'll show you kind of a bigger sheet, how I'm going to break this down and install it, and where I make my cuts at. And these can change. Some of them you can get it to go in all one piece, but for anything that kind of has a big curvature, they're going separate patterns, or there's anything on the body line that's going to depress it, you're definitely going to want to split it up or kind of make these cuts like I do. So you're kind of trailing each edge as it wants to go. And that'll be very important when you get more to the side of the car on a quarter panel or on these front fenders that have a big concave to them. Backing off all the way up to the tape. Once it's there, I'll cut it off. One thing important to this, I don't think anyone talks about it, and I messed this up a few times when I was just starting, is make sure you cut this. Don't try to tear it. If you tear it and it's like the soft looking paper there, it'll leave residue underneath the glue on the sticker itself, and it'll have it kind of textured and you'll never get it out. All right, from here, I'm just going to start from that tape line and start squeegeeing it down the car. And I'm kind of going left to right or vertically with the tape until I get that initial press down of where I want it. And then I'll kind of walk it forward until I get to a point where it's going to start to split. So right now I have this portion here. I don't know if you can see the back of it from this angle, but this one piece of tri-bowl is kind of split two different directions and it comes backwards. So if I try to work it forward and I don't get it perfectly straight, or the hood curves and it creases, it's not going to want to walk backwards all the way to the other piece. So what I'm going to do is just split the backing paper up and separate this whole piece from the rest of the sheet. Now I'm not tearing it off from the other half, so that way it still has its original shape on the other portion of the hood. All I did was just divide it into two so I can work this one blue line forward with this one piece of tri-bowl. And if you notice, I'm not keeping any tension on this. I'm just using the squeegee to just push and letting it fall where it wants to. If you try to force it, you're just going to make it crease because this paper is not going to want to bend. You can use a heat gun and try to conform it and kind of force it if you need to in certain occasions. But for the most part, if you just walk it slowly and let it pull where it wants to go, you won't run into any issues. So like this piece is two separate ones, but I should be okay to continue walking it down as long as I let it fall where it wants to. Now what's going to probably happen when I get to this lightning is it's not going to want to go the exact same path as the rest of it because the hood's starting to curve down a lot more. So what I'm going to end up doing again before I even get to it is, now that we kind of have them in the same location, I'm going to split the piece of paper again and move you so you can see the bottom now. So all I did was just split it again here, and now I can finish out this piece of tri-bowl with the star on it. And now I can finish out the lightning where I left off on this side. Now I'm going to go back to the top and pick up the other sheet that I didn't finish to see if I can get it in one piece or if I need to split it up as well. So same thing, I'm going to start until I see the sheet starting to conform or starting to create a crease on two separate pieces. I try to get at least the starting edge of them straight before I go any further and want to split, so that they still land in the same spot that they should roughly based off the design or the artwork. So right now it's starting to crease because that one wants to go right and down. So I'm just going to break it off and then continue with what I was doing with these two pieces of blue tri-bowl here that I left together so they match the same pattern in distance. Now that I walked that down the crease, it might want to make the lightning go a different direction. So if I have to, I'll break it off as soon as I get it started. So it might be fine. And then the last piece that I just left here, since it does conform that way, what I'm going to do is run it down the flat edge first and then walk it down into the groove. Anything I go up to an edge, I like to work it to the edge first, and then I'll go over it and work the rest of the way. That's going to become important when you start getting the side skirts or door jams, something like that, where you're trying to keep the alignment. Now this side's all the way down here. It's already set, so now I can pull the tape. It's not going to lose its form because I have the backing paper or the front paper that's on it, the protective sheet, to line me up. And I'll do the same thing. All I'm going to do is flip the other half over, pull the backing paper off. And now that the backing paper is off, I'm going to try to set it. Basically, you have this two is already set, so I can't force it to go anywhere else if these two don't go, or it's going to want to create a crease. This large blue one is already set. That one's not touching yet, but it comes off of this. So what I'm going to do is split this one already so that I don't force this to go and then I get a crease way back here. So I'm just going to split it now. All the way back to where they meet. And now I can leave this side up. I can finish walking the large blue one, the main one that I used to kind of set the pattern. I can work it back. I'm not really applying a lot of pressure right now. I'm just trying to get it stuck without any air bubbles. I'll work it back all the way to the point where it starts to hook around and meet the other ones. And I'll use that to set the shape coming back forward. And I'm going to go ahead and separate this zebra one from it as well, now that it's already touching in the front. And then the last piece of it. So I'll just lay it loosely. Stay on the flat part first, work it back to the edge, and then I can kind of push it down away from the corners. Keeping the paper straight over to the next piece, set it, and then I'll run the edges and tuck them with the backing paper still on there, or the protective paper still on there before I cut them. And you're going to want to cut them with this on, or else you're going to risk the wrap trying to crinkle when you're trying to cut it. I'll run up all my edges to the hood edge. And I still got to set it all down. I'm just getting it cut right now. On the blade around the edge. All right, all I did was just finish cutting all my edges. Once I cut the edges off, I'll go ahead with the paper still on there, just push them down with the squeegee, and then squeegee everything down real good up against your edges before you peel it back. What I also like to do after I squeegee over the main pieces is I will run my finger along the edges and kind of push down and make sure it seals, especially on some of these smaller pieces like the lightning. I'll run it down right up against the edge of it and make sure that it's stuck all the way down the edges before I peel it, because you're not going to be able to put as much pressure on it once you lift this paper off without risk peeling it. And if you don't seat them good, what will happen is they'll snag on things, or they'll start to get water under them, especially when you start getting overlapping layers. And once everything's down, I'll just start from the front and I'll start peeling them back piece by piece. Only thing I didn't mention before you start putting them on there is just make sure that you wipe the car down with like a 70% alcohol mixed with some distilled water. Get any wax or residue off the car before you start putting the vinyl on there, so that you don't risk it not wanting to stick or just starting to move once it gets hot outside or cold and starting to shrink on you. Once it's down, just look for any little air pockets that you might have got and run it back over with the squeegee with the felt on it. And I'll run my fingers on the edges and make sure that it wraps everywhere. Anything that's in a jam, I typically will use the squeegee to force it in there first. And that's it. So that's one piece. What I'll do is I'll do the same thing for the rest of the car. And the only thing that I kind of do is when you tape the center, make sure you tape it on something that's as flat as you can on the car, and pick a piece like a larger section before they break when you tape it. That way, when I start here, I can just start up that way, and knowing when I get to the back side, I can work that same piece backwards. What you don't want to do is like catch that much of an edge on one side of the sheet, because then when you get to the back, it's going to be very hard for you to force it where you want it to go or try to realign it, especially when it connects to that same piece. Now I'm setting the main piece that kind of sets the rest of the tone for the rest of it. So all I did was place it on here. Same thing, I have the piece of tape going across the center. I left that one open so I can cut this one all the way back to here. So I can follow this main line all the way down into the bridge, and then I'll hold that one up and then walk it back up that one, and then I'll flip them to the other side. There's probably multiple ways to do these. I know some people use water on the back side. You can lay a whole sheet. This is what I found is the easiest for me, especially given how detailed this livery is and how many pieces. You're trying to get it lined up right so that it looks good. So sometimes the pictures, how it lines up isn't always how it's going to go on the car. It's how it curves. So I kind of adjust it to how it looks good. That's why I set this one now. That's going to set the tone for where I need to place the other ones so that the car is completely filled out. All right, so all I have is the main piece. So I'm just going to come straight off of it to get the bottom of that other one set as well. And then I'll just walk this piece down until they bridge together. Once I get to the bridge, same thing, I'm still walking it down. I'm just coming up to that bridge at the same time so that it lays where it wants to. All right, there's where they meet. Now I'm going to come up, set that. Now I can go down the rest of the way to this one. And then I can follow this one backwards, back up to where it is. And we'll do the same thing the other way. So there's a lot of big ones, and this is going to curve over the body too, over that quarter panel. So I'm going to have to definitely split this whole thing into 3 pieces to get it to walk the whole car and go over that rear quarter flare, because it's going to kind of change direction slightly as it goes over that flare. On huge pieces like this, sometimes I'll cut it halfway up. I won't work the whole thing at once, so it's not just flopping around. That way it still has some of the backing paper on it to protect it, and then it keeps its shape for where it once should go. Same thing, I'm going to split it here, because it's 2 large pieces, and the one's going to end up going all the way up the car. Alright, to get it started, I'm going to try to walk, since this piece is already down, I'm going to walk it together to the bridge, where they both join straight. And as soon as I get that bridge down, now I can go 2 separate ways. The zebra on this one kind of goes off of it, so I'm going to come straight off of it to get this one to lay down with the paper the same way. If I needed to, I can split it, but I don't think I'm going to need to, because it laid flat with the other portion. My door handle hole's kind of here, so I'm not pushing it down into it. I'm going to use the paper off of this one to get it to go the rest of the way. And then just kind of holding it flat. Figure out where this one wants to end up at first. And I probably end up splitting it as I get up further up the quarter panel, because it's going to want to go 2 different ways. But I'm going to start it together first and see where it wants to go. I'm not going to push it down to the door handle or over that quarter panel gap just yet. I'm just going to kind of walk it over. I already know that one's going to want to go the opposite direction of this one, because it's right on the curvature of this rear arch. I'm just going to go ahead and separate it now. And then I'll go off the bridge the other way and finish this last one. And the same thing as the hood, I'm just going to squeegee it down real good and then use my finger to push down the edges. And then I'll cut it while the protective paper is still on at this jam right here, and then I'll peel it all back and then move on to the next piece that's just like this, but just a little further forward, and continue with the time lapse. Alright guys, here's both cars. The power went out when I was finishing up the wrap on the very front of it. You can see it in the time lapse. The power cut off due to a storm. So here they are finished up. Same livery on both cars, same colors, same exact size. I just adjusted how they go on the panel. Hope this helps you guys install it. I appreciate you guys watching. And if you haven't seen my Instagram, I got a free parts giveaway. All you got to do is basically follow me and comment on a video. The information's on my Instagram. And if you want your own livery design, just go ahead and hit up Livery Delivery on Instagram. He'll get you hooked up. Let him know you saw my video. He'll customize it to how you want it, what kind of style you would like. And then once you're ready to get it printed, hit up Z7 Graphics on Instagram. Same thing, tell him you saw the video. And it's going to get printed for the cheapest you're going to get in the best quality. It's all on wrap vinyl, not stickers. But I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to go load up for MB Drift Series this weekend. And I'll see you guys next time.